Hey friends. So today we are going to be talking about the Scorpio full moon, which is taking place on Tuesday, April 23rd at 4:48 p.m. Pacific and 7:48 p.m. Eastern. And now just want to wish you a happy Earth Day season, a happy Taurus season. And if you watched the previous video, which was about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the sign of Taurus, want to recognize that we are still in the energy of that. So even though the height of that event, which took place at 21 degrees, about 47 minutes Taurus, was on April 20th, we're still going to be feeling those energies and perhaps effects for another few weeks. Okay, so just we want to keep that in mind. And I'll just mention it briefly because we're going to be talking about Taurus and Taurian issues. So Taurus is the first earth sign of the zodiac. And you can think of it as a primordial earth sign. It's always going to invite us to get really comfortable in our bodies and to be able to instinctively and instinctually listen to the messages that our bodies have to give us. Now, this is really important for Scorpio. So, of course, even those signs that oppose one another in the zodiac have a lot of oppositional, obviously, energies for one another. They also share two sides of a coin. They also share two sides of a spectrum. And so when we're talking about scorpionic things, Scorpio is the alchemist. Scorpio is one who is here, as my teacher Stephen Forrest would say, to make all that is unconscious conscious. And that is, how do we do that? It's by going into the subconscious realm and being open to what is there and having insights and going into a space of exploration and even vulnerability so that we can be aware of these deeper patterns that we are carrying, but our conscious mind might hold at bay because it does not want to know always, right? Because it's made uncomfortable by the dark that Scorpio represents. Let me be clear on this. This darkness is not about evil, although in shadow, darkness can be that way. And I don't mean Scorpio is evil. So let me also be clear on that. But Scorpio wants us to go into the darkness of our subconscious awareness in a healthy way that allows us to do alchemical and transformational work so that we can actually take our stands because humans are divine beings having a human experience, so that we can take our stand as someone who knows how to work transformatively. And so this is I consider this to be like an inner alchemy. That is what Scorpio is absolutely here to do. So whenever we have Scorpio energy, transits, progressions, a full moon, which is considered a transit, right? A quick one. We want to be tasting and experiencing this energy. And then, of course, it'll highlight certain parts of our charts that may be illuminated by this energy. So that's just something that's good to keep in mind when you're working astrologically. Now, the conscious mind, sometimes it can't handle something that is an intense event or a trauma of sorts or a trauma in general. And so it will push that away until we are ready to integrate it. So what we want to be considering this practice, in my opinion, evolutionary astrology is an integrative practice. That means it wants us to be able to do the work that I'm talking about. So when we're ready to go to the wound, to go to the place where there is energy that is actually creating a blockage in our psycho-emotional, psycho-spiritual, and physical experience, in order to transform that, in order to integrate it and to become more empowered. Okay, because Scorpio is an energy that deals with power, empowerment, and really it wants us to dive into our own capacity as alchemists to do this. Now, what Taurus has in common with this, well, Taurus wants to keep things really simple, easeful, chill, tranquil. Scorpio wants things to be really intense and complex, and it's not going to rest until it gets to the root of something, which is really great because sometimes, our minds might be going over and over and over again over a scenario that we've just experienced. Maybe we know there's something hiding underneath the surface, and so we're trying to come at it from many different angles until we find the right one that's like, this is the thing that I had not yet uncovered. It's in my body, Taurus, right? Because the body keeps the score. The body holds all of this information, just like our Earth Mother body holds all the information that humans have ever been through and pre-humans have ever been through. It's pretty epic, right? But our bodies hold all of this material. And when we can go into a process of transformation that is healing on a deep level, as Pluto, the ruler, modern, of Scorpio tells us, energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's only transformed. So when we're able to move into this arena of transformation with vulnerability, with openness, with a sense of, okay, I might be a little bit trepidatious, I might be really terrified, but I'm going to choose to go into this space with grace, with love, with trust, and with a good guide, right? And I'm willing to cultivate these tools and resources, Taurus, in order to be the full, whole being that I came here to be. Anything is possible. And so those of you who have ever been through any kind of transformative experience, Scorpio is going to you're going to know that energy because you've been to this place in yourself. And so when we have a Scorpio full moon, it wants to bring those things up from within our bodies, from within our emotions, from within our thought patterns, from within our spiritual or energetic experience, so that we can actually become more clear on what we've been carrying karmically, epigenetically, in order to let the energy flow more freely. Because once we transform it, we're not playing out old patterns anymore, old stories anymore. And then once those old stories are transformed, of course, we have access to our full potential. So that's what Scorpio wants. That's what we're being invited to do during this time. And because Uranus and Jupiter are having that conjunction in Taurus, there is an opportunity for us to expand our capacity as to how we do that, especially if we've got stuff in our natal charts that are being hit or aspected, right, by any of these planets, including the moon. As well as how we can do that in a completely authentic way, in a way that perhaps we didn't know about before, because now we are stepping into a more authentic part of who we are. And we're able to own our process, our sovereign, authentic process. And then we can share that with other people, and then they can make their own process that is authentic and helpful and expansive to them. Now, one other thing to keep in mind is that Mercury is still retrograde, and it went retrograde over the eclipse that happened on April 8th. It went retrograde over that point somewhere around April 16th, pretty sure. And then it will come back over the point where the eclipse took place on April 8th on May 4th, 5th. So during Taurus season. So just important to keep in mind that we're still doing a little bit of, hopefully, introspection and questioning and integrating what came up during that eclipse cycle for us, and perhaps hopefully becoming more clear on that. And the Scorpio full moon is going to give us an opportunity to really highlight, to look into these places that maybe we didn't see as clearly, or maybe we're just getting more of an insight, or we're coming full circle in a way in our transformative and integrative process. Okay, so all these things we want to bear in mind, and just not even in our minds. I think about it as just putting it in our awareness, because our minds can get overwhelmed with a lot of this stuff. And this is not to overwhelm us. These are actually right so that we have tools so that we can move through these processes with as much skill and grace, surrender and openness as possible. And the capacity to know, how to go with them well. Because sometimes we don't know. So that's why we're talking about this. So again, if you have Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, early degrees of any of those signs in your chart, the full moon is going to be really aspecting those planets or planetoids, planetary bodies for you. Okay, so keep that in mind. And yeah, this is an invitation for you to tap into the parts of yourself that are already really clear about what it means to do inner alchemy and to transform psycho-spiritual and psycho-emotional processes that allow you more freedom in your embodied experience, in your mental experience, in your emotional experience, in your spiritual experience, so that you're not weighted down again by old epigenetic or ancestral, we'll call it, karmic stories that you have already lived out. Old karmic stories that we've already lived out and we've kind of figured them out. We don't have to do that again. It's important that we actually move on from those old stories so that they're not holding us back from the subconscious realm, because that will happen, right? If, like my grandfather, for example, he did commit suicide. I brought in tendencies that were similar to that. Did I need to play those out? No. I needed to get to the root of them so that I could transform them and then use that energy for positive to move it into my system and into my life in a healed and healthy and free way. Okay, so that's why Scorpio is so important, because it's really an amazing energy that gives us our power back. But we have to choose it. We have to choose to go into those darker, more shady, shadowy places in ourselves with care, with love, with grace, with a guide when we're just learning how to do it. And then with, open hearts and the guidance of our inner selves when we have been doing this for a while, so that we can actually do the work that is being asked of us, and that allows us our full potential. Okay, so during this Scorpio full moon, I invite you to reconnect with your own capacity as an alchemist to transform anything and everything that you came here to transform, so that you are tapping into your potential and so that you are living that in the world without being held back by old stories that no longer need to hold weight. If you have questions, you can always drop me a line. And so if you're watching this on Instagram, you can send me one there. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can, make a comment, but also you can just go to my website, evolutionmedicine.ca, and send me a note there. And my email, I'm going to give you that too, because I'm there, is lilarasa@gmail.com. lilarasa@gmail.com. And I'm just wishing you a really beautiful full moon. And, Scorpio is really good at holding complexity. And I think anytime we have a full moon and we can see it, and always we're going to feel it too, I think it's important to just go stand under the beauty of the moon and celebrate this amazing energy. and let this energy really wash over your whole being in Taurian fashion, which is just through your senses, just letting the magic of our amazing universe that lives in you really come to life through you. Have a wonderful experience, and I'll see you next time.